So thank you everyone. So as Sarah said, I'm Kirsten. So I'm the Strategic Communications Manager at the, like all government agencies, we have an acronym, AHW, much easier to say than the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. So just a hands up, who's heard of the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare? Oh, that warms my heart. Okay, and just another one, who here loves public speaking? Fabulous. So I'm with my tribe. Thank you. So, okay, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about digital stakeholder engagement and how we turn lockdown into an opportunity to strengthen our relationships. So it's great to hear that everyone here has heard of the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. I'm quite sure many of you may not be as familiar with the services and reporting that we do at the macro and micro level. So I'm going to give you a little crash course if that's okay. Now, which button do I press? Okay, press that one. Okay. So the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, or the AHW, is an independent statutory Australian government agency. We sit within the health portfolio and we produce authoritative, accessible information and statistics to inform and support better policy, public service, policy and service and delivery decisions, leading to better health and welfare outcomes for all Australians. So we are focused on turning the data, which we're all become very familiar with over the last 2 years, into useful information as well as telling the broader story. So what we do. So we publicly release over 200 reports and data releases annually, covering a variety of about 75 health and welfare topics. Our reports are released under embargo to Commonwealth, state and territory governments, ministers, advisory group members, relevant advocacy groups, NGOs, peak bodies and the media. So we provide also about over 180 so far customised data extracts annually for government, researchers, consumers, service providers and organisations, just as a bit of a summary. And we manage the controlled access of Australia's most comprehensive collection of health and welfare data. So we deliver a full range of data services, from requests for access through to analysis, through to something which some of you may be familiar with, a term called data linkage, where we link one data set with another data set to try and understand trends and behaviours. So I can talk a little bit, but we are lucky enough here at the HW to have some in-house graphic designers which have pulled together a beautiful animation for me. So I'm wondering if this will play. No, it's not. I'm going to have to press it on the computer, I think. Here we go.
The Australian Institute of Health and Welfare is an independent federal government agency with more than 30 years of experience, reporting on long-term trends and patterns of the health and welfare experiences of Australians. Our role is to collect and manage data on health and welfare issues, and turn that data into useful information and reports to support better policy and service delivery decisions. We publicly release over 200 reports and data analyses annually, covering over 75 health and welfare topics. These are widely used by government, researchers, policymakers, and the community. We receive national and international recognition for our statistical expertise and proven track record in providing high-quality, independent evidence. Our partnerships form the foundation of our enduring success, dating back to our establishment in 1987. We put people at the centre of our data, looking at how a better understanding of the relationship between the elements and circumstances of people's lives impact on their health and well-being. We offer world-leading, tailored health and welfare information, products and services, provide accurate and timely statistics, develop and collect comprehensive data, standardise data and improve its quality, develop and improve performance indicators and targets for national agreements, provide data linkage and complex data analysis services, deliver secure data curation and access, and develop and maintain national metadata standards. All done by an organisation of highly skilled and dedicated staff. Discover us at www.aihw.gov.au.
I can draw a cabbage on a tree, otherwise known as a tree. So yeah, it's pretty impressive when you get the graphic designers to do their thing. Now, now it's gonna stuff up on me. We'll try and click back. Okay, here we go. So, as you can understand the breadth of our work, we work across various Commonwealth ministers across the health and welfare sectors. So, just to name a few, we've obviously got the Minister for Health up there, the Honourable Greg Hunt. We've also got Senator Ruston as well in social services, families, women's safety. So you can understand there the dynamics that we have to deal with ministerial officers and quickly pivot when there's a reshuffle and things like that. So lots going on in our space. Okay, so our team at the AHW Strategic Communications and Stakeholder Engagement Unit is 10 people, including myself. So we manage internal and external communication, including our embargoed publishing process. So we are 3 teams within that. So we've got a media liaison team, media management, authoring support, which support our authoring units to write, as Sarah would have explained, writing complex things and pulling out key messages and key findings effectively, as well as my team, which is the strategic communications team. Within the AHW, we are the first point of contact for the embargoed publication and launch of AHW reports and products. We run formal consultations with our stakeholders. We do event management and conference participation, which, as you can understand, there's been a lot of changes lately. We do anything involved with the AHW brand, all things media and social media related, and the new buzzword, internal communications. So, about live streaming at the AHW, which you're all here to talk about. So, we began our live streaming implementation from a total standing start. Everything was pretty much done face-to-face prior to COVID-19, and business travel for events, presentations and conferences was really the norm. We have a Sydney-based office on Oxford Street, and then we have a Canberra office, which is split across 3 buildings. In Bruce, we have remote worker connections, which were so inconsistent, and working from home was definitely not the norm for our workforce. But now, teleconferences and webinars for live streaming capability and live streaming capability is now a regular component of AHW staff's meeting repertoire without the requirement for additional support. So anyone here had to, contact ICT, I need help with setting up a video conference. That's not, all our staff are self-sufficient now, which is great. So we use Microsoft Teams meetings, we use Teams Live, we use Vimeo, we even use Zoom, but we, like many of you, we have to use standalone computers to ensure meeting security and ICT requirements are met, and we also use the GovTeams platform as well. So how did we make this happen? We used a number of avenues open to us. Lucky enough, my boss does sit on the AHW's executive committee, so we took that opportunity to raise the matter as a reputational issue. You can probably all remember the first time people do video conferences and it's like, you're on mute, your cameras are, put your laptop up, all those kind of teething problems. So we needed to be able to continue our business as usual, including engaging with our stakeholders during lockdown. So we needed to have the relevant tools available and support our staff to use them. We also pushed the internal communications angle and advised that it was critical to be able to continue to engage with staff and hold our regular all staff meetings and group meetings while people were working from home. We have a really good relationship with our ICT teams, so we spoke to them about what technology we could use and how much it might cost. And we have a strong relationship with our CEO, who really does get communications, and have regular catch-ups with them. So when the budget became the stalling point for our negotiations with live streaming, we spoke directly to them and were able to find the money very quickly to upgrade our technology to enable live streaming. We were also able to jump on the back of a program of work being rolled out to upgrade the HW. I know many of you have already got M365, but we're getting it tomorrow, which enabled us to use Microsoft Teams and Teams Live on the AIHW technology and platforms and laptops and things. So, what changes occurred? All our meeting rooms now have cameras to join virtual meetings. We did a low-cost option, which were quick and effective, delivered. I don't know if you've ever heard of an OWL, but they're great. They've got a microphone and camera in one. They're directional, very low-cost option. We also had plug-in mics and cameras added to meeting rooms. Our senior leadership officers were equipped with video conferencing to connect with staff and external stakeholders. And our large meeting room and event room has now been upgraded with remote access to live stream by our contractor. We led this project, not ICT. It was a comms project from the start, including securing the budget, as I mentioned, for the upgrade. And we also worked very closely with ICT to ensure that the work carried out with this remote access live streaming aligned with our ICT architecture and met all the security requirements. We've also focused on upskilling and supporting staff with their digital literacy skills throughout this whole process, which has really been quite empowering. Oh, I went through, okay. As we were new to live streaming, we didn't have the relevant technical support within IT, so we engaged a contractor, Newcast or Lonsdale Street Studios. I don't know if anyone's engaged with them before, but they're great. Really top service and so reliable and so professional. So they've been managing our live stream events for us, been able to problem solve with technical issues, audio quality, video quality for us. Newcastle also conducted an audit of our main event room and established what needed to be done and what could be upgraded in order to deliver a professional live streaming events. And on this one, here's a little sneak peek of some of the events we've run, both internal and external, with the support of Newcastle. So they've pulled this little show reel together for us.
I logged into the desktop of another computer within the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. So what we can now do is control cameras, audio, and we can switch and stream at the same time from this one location, from our studios here.
Good morning and welcome all for my second all-staff address and my first Institute update.
So all that's left for me to do is, as I mentioned before, Barry, we've got another gift and card for you. We had some last week, but thanks again. We'd like to shake hands here. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Marie.
Thank you so much, Rob. Hello everyone. I begin by formally acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting today.
But you also have the possibility to explore the maps in the center panel. You have 3 maps with 3 measures and 3 stories that you can derive from the measures.
Well, I thought maybe to begin with, I'd just sort of paint a picture of what it's like in Canada over the last year.
Thank you again, David. It's greatly appreciated. I know you're approaching 6 o'clock over there.
I gotta cook dinner, man.
Well, that's good. I hope you planned ahead and you've got the recipe out and ready to go.
In acknowledging country, I too from this part of Australia have similar connections to country that all of our Indigenous relations and our Indigenous people throughout Australia, our First Nations people, have to country.
I absolutely do concur with what you're saying about looking into the future.
Thank you, Louise and Christine. Our next question comes from Jonathan Lee, and another question from Jeff House as well.
It's been a pretty spectacular result for the Institute, so thank you to everybody. And I'll be seeing people around for the next few weeks anyway, and then we'll be back to see what 2021 brings us.
Rightio. So we took an opportunity during COVID to showcase our data in a really new way. To the momentum created through virtual meetings and events became more popular. You can see on the slide behind me that a list of all the live stream events we ran during 2020 and 2021, split between our internal guest speaker series and our external stakeholder and media briefing events, which we run for report releases which are high profile. For all our guest speaker and internal all-staff events, we have the speakers present in person or fully virtual, or a mix of some presenters in person and some online. Our staff and stakeholders are provided with the option to attend via the live streamed event or on demand afterwards. So who doesn't like to watch a recording of a live stream event over their lunch break? Delivering virtual events has enabled us to have an impressive range of international and interstate speakers, which we might not have been able to do if the presenters needed to travel to Canberra, and that also includes ministers, so we can fit around their availability. So when we were able to deliver a number of ministerial events with really considerable ease for our stakeholder briefings, and we were able to deliver a really holistic briefing where we had a range of speakers to cover data, policy and lived experience perspectives. So that takes me on to lived experience. One of the ways which we've really added to our stakeholders participating in our live streamed events has been the incorporation of these lived experiences. People with lived experience have really unique knowledge, abilities and attributes. They draw on their own life-changing experiences, service use and their journey of recovery and healing to support others. To understand the critical need for connection and to utilise this expertise to inspire others to find hope. They build relationships based on a collective understanding of the shared experiences, self-determination and empowerment, and they provide an important resource for change. Incorporating lived experiences and these people into our stakeholder briefings has been really important for us as a data agency to humanise the data. And essentially it turns numbers into people. A couple of examples where we had a speaker with lived experience participate in our briefings are a release that came out, you may have heard about it, in September, serving and ex-serving Australian Defence Force members who have served since 1985, and we reported on the suicide monitoring between 2001 and 2019, and there's obviously a Royal Commission now occurring. For this event, in addition to speakers from the National Mental Health Commission, the HW and Everymind, Gwen Cherney, who is the DVA family advocate, spoke and provided a unique perspective. Gwen is committed to representing the perspectives of veteran families in an ongoing policy and decision making across government. As a single mother with 2 young children at home and having lost her husband to suicide, Gwen is acutely aware of some of the challenges that defence families face. For our Dementia in Australia report, we actually had a speaker, Natalie Ive, who is also one of Dementia Australia's advocates, and she joined our stakeholder briefing to share her own experience of her impacts of her younger onset dementia and her primary progressive aphasia. Natalie was able to talk on why the AHW report was important to ensuring that people like her counted and they were included in the statistics, with hope that it will inform policies within health, disability and aged care sectors. Another important addition to some of our briefings has been the inclusion of speaker links or guidance on how to report complex and sensitive topics. Whenever we held a stakeholder briefing on the topic of suicide and self-harm, we have included a speaker from Mindframe. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but if you, I highly recommend you go have a look on their website. It's a national program supporting safe media reporting, portrayal and communication about suicide, mental ill health and alcohol and drugs. The involvement of Mindframe when engaging the media has proven very, very useful for us. With our recent veteran suicide monitoring report, there was a couple of issues with inaccurate and sensationalised headlines. We were able to engage with the journalists and remind them of the Mindframe guidelines for responsible reporting. While the headlines had been, we all know how the headlines get written by the sub-editors and they weren't at the briefing, the outcome was positive in that headlines were changed, which also meant we saved many people impacted from the issue any distress. So, through all of this, we were working towards building stronger relationships with our stakeholders through quality two-way engagement. All our briefings were all on the record, so these virtual events had the added benefit of saving us a tremendous amount of time in managing media requests, as our on-the-record briefings were more efficient for spokespersons, as we get all the questions at once and the responses could be attributed and the recordings could be supplied to media. We got high quality engagement, so the inclusion of high profile presenters also reinforced the positive personal connections with our key players in the sectors such as veterans, mental health, aged care, primary health network service management, and family, domestic and sexual violence. Open and transparent events in real time provided us with the opportunity as well to ask questions of a variety of presenters. And it shows how we are listening and able to clarify technical data and policy and program details on the spot. It's not just the media also who benefited from this. These proactive positive engagements go a long way with the advocacy, peak bodies, peak NGOs and lobby groups in the space that we work in. And we've discovered they go a long way to prevent the escalation or misinterpretation of the data. And on a side note, virtual events also provide new metrics and evidence for measuring event success. So we now include snapshots of measures of engagement, attendance engagement, instead of anecdotal feedback of, oh, I gave away 20 brochures at this event and conference, or all my stress balls are gone. It's great. So we're also able to source the best talent. So virtual events require less time from speakers and, even better, less funding. Our carbon emissions also reduced because we didn't have to travel. And it adds to our relationship management with key stakeholders at a time when high pressure and stress in the health and welfare space is occurring. So from a workforce and team management perspective, our live stream events have also provided the opportunity for our junior staff to upskill and provide exposure to our senior stakeholders and executives. And that was my last slide. So just wondering if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Next question. Do you think the online presence has been the silver lining in the cloud of COVID? It's really increased work for us and made a lot of things easier. Any questions?
I'll stop it.
I think you mentioned that you used Microsoft Teams, but was all of those events that you were running all through Teams or through Newcast, who you said you brought on board? What was the platform again that you were using?
So we use a variety of platforms depending on what we want to do. So we discovered for live streaming to staff, to ensure that we didn't break our internal network, Vimeo seems to work best because that's just an external, like YouTube. If we wanted to moderate our question and answer portion of our briefings, it was definitely Teams Live. That's an easy moderation tool that we can utilise. And then we used Zoom for the Minister because that's his preference and what he says goes, which is really good because it also means everyone else, as we've discovered, is really familiar with using Zoom and the chat function and the question function as well for some of those larger webinars and briefings.
Just coming from a larger department, I'm surprised you haven't been shoehorned into WebEx, sorry.
We trialled WebEx and we found solutions that worked better for our network. We're not a Cisco agency.
Yeah, we've been using GovTeams Live and GovTeams. It's been awesome.
This is probably not just for you, for everyone here as well. Do you think people will ever go back to live events after COVID? I mean, this is one, but is it worth anybody's while to try and organise a large event?
I think in the future we'll have hybrid events. I think the benefits of a live event and the benefits of a virtual event, they both have advantages, and I think if we can smush them together, I think everyone wins.
And mush is a technical term, is it?
Oh, yep.
2 more questions, and then I think we'll be done because I know there's some delicious afternoon tea.
Have you found that your staff have been getting fatigued by online events?
I think that's where the advantages of providing recordings really, we don't get as many people, so we're an organisation of close to 600 staff, so our internal events will probably get 1/3 of staff joining us live, and then at least 50% of staff after the event will watch on demand, which is a great advantage of the platform Vimeo. You can do that, so you can live stream and then you can pop on demand, which is really good.
Question about facilitation, because sometimes you can attend an online event and it could be, well, lack of better words, boring as that shit. How have you had to upskill staff within your agency, within your organisation, so that they can better facilitate, and how's that gone? Have you found anything to help?
Yeah, so all of our senior executives have done quite detailed and quite comprehensive media training. But you've got to know your speakers. Some people are never going to be comfortable public speaking. Some people are never going to look at that camera. Some people are going to walk out of shot. You just got to know. And I think we've kind of got to the point where we have some really good superstars and we play on that. But then there's also people who really want to be pushed to do it. So I think while you say upskilling staff to do facilitation and live streamed events, I think presenting in a live stream virtual meeting is very different to facilitating a virtual meeting. So I think they're 2 different skill sets. I didn't even answer your question, I realised, but anyway.
It has its challenges. Thank you everyone for coming out on a Wednesday afternoon when we're due several days of rain. It's the end of the year, we're tired, we're trying to get all those end of the year messages out to all staff and all the challenges, but the value of these conversations as communicators is really important, and I just love the connection. So, Defence has had ComCAN for 2021. Gabby and Kath, if you could come up on the stage. We don't actually have anything to hand over. It's a bit disappointing. Not even a key, an email, a flowers, a sash. No, nothing like that. And I think the best thing with ComCAN is it goes from agency to agency, and we really share the load as communicators. So, with great pleasure, you'll take it. Hand over to the Digital Health Agency as the ComCAN Secretary for 2021.
Thank you, everybody. I think we just took away a huge amount of learning, and one of the things I think we're going to look at for next year is having a hybrid event, so online as well as in person, for all of the people who are not in Canberra. So thank you very much. I hope to see all your smiling faces. I am the branch manager for marketing and comms at the agency, and Tess is the only director responsible for media, marketing, she does all the work and I just stand here and talk. But if there's anything you need, if you have anything particular you want to hear about for the next 12 months, please let us know. We'll be sending out probably some more sort of pop-up surveys to see what it is you want to hear about, rather than trying to come up with content, which is always challenging. So,
I just think the presentations today were fantastic, and I've really learned a lot. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Well, that's a wrap for 2021. Stay safe, stay healthy, especially for those travelling. And we have some scones and